I colored it. I animated it. I even Illustrator Reacted to it. But did I ruin it? No, of course I... Let's find out! Everything worked out really well for me this week. See, I've been wanting to do some Minecraft art because lots of people have been asking for it, but I didn't really have any good ideas. Then, a new friend just happened to reach out saying, "Hey, you want to color some Minecraft art for me?" And I thought, perfect. And this wasn't just anybody reaching out. This was James Raiz, TheBoxOfficeArtist, who, let's face it, if you're watching videos on my channel, you've probably seen tons of his videos before, because he's one of the big art channels on YouTube. I don't want to show you the art yet that I'm coloring of his because he drew it in the video that he just put out. So, you know, click that card right now. Check out his video first. We good? Y'all go watch it? Yeah? Alright. So James did a nice long breakdown of all the different parts of the piece, and as you can see, and probably saw in his video, it's his iteration of the Minecraft box art, with Jason Mamoa as Steve and more realistic, comic booky kind of renderings of all of the animals and the environments and all that awesome stuff. And it looks so cool, and I'm so excited to color it. So, let's jump into that now. Actually, you know what? Before we jump into the coloring, I should do a quick Illustrator Reacts on this piece. Now this piece here is a good idea, really well executed by James Raiz, TheBoxOfficeArtist. It's his take on the classic Minecraft box art, and obviously his style is drastically different from the Minecraft style. And it's funny, the thing I like most about this piece is actually the main thing that he changed in terms of our main character here. He's used Steve's arm and the pickaxe, which he's tilted differently from the original art, to build a sort of framing triangle both around Jason Momoa's head and further emphasizing the triangle that Jason Momoa's whole body is making in the piece. And something else I noticed is, in a lot of my own videos, even the not Illustrator Reacts ones, I've talked about how I find my stuff looks cartoonier when I do a thick outline on the outside of a character. But if you look at James's art here, his interior lines and exterior lines are very different, and the exterior lines around the character are really thick, and it's not making the piece look more cartoony. So that's kind of made me reevaluate how I say, thick outside lines make things more cartoony, because that's obviously not always the case. I'm also always amazed how good James is at making people look like the people they're trying to represent. Maybe that's specifically because I'm really bad at that myself, doing the likenesses of actual people, but he's so good at getting that. Right when I first looked at this, I knew it was Jason Mamoa, even though he doesn't have the haircut that I usually picture Jason Mamoa with. And finally, well, everyone who watches this channel regularly knows I really love colored artwork. This piece, I think, works really well without color. I might even go so far as to say that if someone were to take on coloring for this piece, good luck to them somehow trying to improve this really awesome artwork. I think they'd be more likely to ruin it. I'm excited, I'm kind of nervous, but let's do this. Now, coloring is easily my favorite part of the artistic process, and it's the thing I'm most confident about doing in art. But the reason I've been a bit nervous going into this one is because I've never colored someone's artwork who does such drastically different line art from myself. See, obviously, most of the time when I'm coloring artwork, I'm just coloring my own art, and my line work I do keeping in mind that I'm gonna do most of the detailing in the coloring stage. But obviously, James's line art is super detailed before we even get to coloring. So while I want to spend a long time on this coloring, and I want to make it really great, I also have to make sure to not over-detail the colors and take away from the awesome detailing that James has already put into this. My job here isn't to show off myself, it's to make his artwork shine that much more. In the flatting stage, the main method I'm using so far is, as I would normally do, I'm using gradient ramps for a lot of the colors, but only for the big, main, most prominent stuff. Some of the biggest mountains, Steve, and the animals. Everything else, especially the stuff that's farthest into the distance, I'm using just plain, regular, flat colors to make sure they feel farther back and aren't drawing as much attention. And so far, the thing I like most about these flats is the fact that Steve's blue outfit and the blue of the sky is even more emphasizing that nice big triangle composition, bringing us down through the main character. Okay, I'm quite happy with how the flatting has gone, but now I've got an interesting decision to make. See, some colorists will take the line work and change the color of the line work from black to blend in a little bit more with the colors, and my initial instinct is to do that. But one of the things that makes James's style so great is his line work, so the idea of messing with that is pretty nerve-wracking. I really don't want to ruin his art, obviously. But I really want to try this. I think it's going to make the piece shine that much more. Let's see what happens. Now, once I was actually into the shading and lighting, it wasn't as different of a coloring process as I thought it might end up being. I was pretty much just doing all my usual stuff that I would do in Autodesk Sketchbook, which is the software I use for coloring. I made a glow layer for my main lighting, I made a multiply layer for my main shadows, and then one more glow layer for the backlighting and rim lighting on the character that makes him stand out a little bit more from the environment. Then, duplicate that a few times for all of the different characters and elements in the piece. For the shadows, I'm using a dark green color because most of the environment is green, yellow for the sunlight that's coming in front of the character, and then for the rim lighting, a bit of blue because the sky in behind the characters is blue. And then you can also see that I'm doing less detailed lighting and shadows on the characters and elements that are farther back. Basically, the farther something is into the distance, and especially stuff lower down in the piece that's below the characters, I give less attention and detail to because I don't want them drawing focus away from our main characters and the stuff that we really want people to look at the most. Okay, at this point, I'm definitely confident enough to say that I'm not ruining the piece. I really like how it's coming together, the forms are coming out really nicely. I think my style of coloring is coming through a bit while still maintaining James's original vision. I think I'm losing a bit too much of his detailing in some of the darkest shadow areas, so I might lower the opacity of the shadows a bit, maybe just erase them out in some of the darkest parts. But overall, I like how the process is going, and I think the coloring line work is working out pretty nicely. I'm going to do a lot of tweaking and last minute touches at the end, but of course, first things first, gotta shade and light the background. Now you can see I'm adding a bit of a blue fade over some of the most distant mountains, both the colors and the line work, and that's to give a bit of a feeling of atmospheric perspective. That's that effect where if you look at something in the very far distance, it looks more faded out because you're having to see it through more haze and particles, like air particles, and you're looking at it through more atmosphere than stuff that's closer to you. So that's my main focus right now, making that stuff feel farther in the back, and then adding some final details to our characters to make them really pop out and stand out and be the big focus. That means adding a bit more rim lighting to them, a bit more glitz and gleams on them to make them a bit shinier and poppier, and, well, that wraps up my day of coloring this piece.
The next morning.
Okay, so I slept on this project, and as I was going to bed, I was thinking, there's gotta be something else that I can do with this to pump it up a little bit more, make it a little bit more exciting before I show it to James. Then, when I woke up this morning, I thought, what if I make it a motion poster? And so, I'm gonna get down to work on exactly that. Now the most essential part for prepping this thing for animation is probably the most tedious part, and that's separating the characters from the background environment. To be able to move the characters around, I obviously need them as their own separate layers. So the first part of that is going in and just cutting out the characters and then redrawing in a little bit extra parts for them so I have more flexibility to move them around behind or in front of other characters. And then the more time-consuming part is making a background plate where there are no characters. And to do that, I basically have to go in and recolor and do line art in all the sections where the characters were originally. But once that was done, it was pretty easy from there. I animated all the characters separately, I added some lens flares in there, I added a little bit of a sort of speedline light effect from in behind the characters. Admittedly, my favorite part of the animation is probably how I had the Minecraft text come in. I separated all the text letters individually and then have them come in a bit of a wave. And I think that looks pretty cool. And then I set the whole thing up so that it was a looping animation and would be good for, I don't know, posting on Instagram or just sharing wherever on the internet. And so, with all those steps completed, it's time to show it to James and see what the box office artist thinks of the colored and animated version of his artwork. Now, I went to meet James out by a popular Toronto landmark, and it was kinda windy outside, which led to some janky audio, so apologies for the sound being a little bit funny in this part. But James and I did meet up, and first things first was to show him the colored artwork. Alright, ready?
Ready, I'm ready. Oh, nice! Whoa, that was great!
Thanks.
Nice!
The one thing I wasn't sure
Wow.
about, I wasn't sure if I should ask, is how you feel about colored line work.
Right,
Because there were some
right.
spots where I colored the line work.
Oh, for sure. You know, I wanted you to color it the way you wanted.
Okay,
to color
perfect,
it,
cool.
for sure. That, I think it looks awesome.
But of course, it was time for the second reveal, the animated art.
Alright. What? Oh! Holy cow! Look! Yeah. That's a surprise. Holy cow! Wow! Look at this guy! Well, you gotta teach me how to do that. Man, look at this! Oh, that's sick.
Well, there you have it, everybody. I definitively did not ruin the box office artist's artwork.
This is awesome, man. You did fantastic.
Right.
We gotta do more. We gotta do more together. Absolutely. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah. For anyone that's new to the channel, thanks so much for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed this, and be sure to check out some of my other videos. I do lots of pop culture crossover kind of stuff, where I'll draw and come up with stories for Spider-Man characters if they were in the Star Wars universe, or Overwatch characters if they were in Dungeons & Dragons, or Venomized My Hero Academia characters. Lots of cool crossover stuff like that, and then once a month I do a community redraw episode based on a different theme each month, showing off and redrawing a bunch of community artwork. And then of course, the Illustrator React series is by far my most popular series, breaking down the artwork of lots of popular manga and Western artists. And finally, thanks again so much to James. This was super fun, and if you haven't already, make sure to go check out James's video and his channel. He's got so much awesome stuff. He does so much crazy awesome artwork. And if you like the art in this, you'll obviously like lots of the stuff he's got going on his channel. His channel and video are tagged in the description. But that's all for today. I'm Christian Pearson. This has been PopCross Studios, home of the nerdiest art videos on YouTube, and I will see you all in the next one. Videos Fridays and Mondays, by the way. Alright everybody, goodbye.